So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has been nominated for 3 more awards, this time from the DICE Awards, and one of those nominations in particular I think is actually really special and super cool, and we're going to take a look at that nomination. We're also going to do a recap of the newest Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis event, this one focusing on the New Year's Festival, but it also gives us a preview of not only Wutai, but the party dynamic that Vincent is going to have with our characters in 7 Remake Part 3. So if any of that sounds cool to you, feel free to click the like button, and if you're new here and you'd like to stick around and help support the channel, you can subscribe, and as always, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. So starting off first with those nominations, again, this is coming from the DICE Awards, and what makes the DICE Awards super special is that everything is based on the developers in the industry who actually make these games. From the nominations to the people that vote on them, the people that actually program these things and put all their blood, sweat, and tears into these games are the ones deciding the nominations and winners. So it's really, really cool, and winning and even being nominated for an award from DICE really is kind of like a badge of honor from all of your peers within the gaming industry. It's really cool. And for Rebirth in particular, they have landed 3 nominations, including Role-Playing Game of the Year, Outstanding Achievement in Animation, but the one that I want to focus on is Outstanding Achievement in Character, and this is for Yuffie Kisaragi for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now you're probably wondering what the heck is Outstanding Achievement in a Character? Well, this award encompasses everyone who has a hand in creating and bringing this character to life. From the person who created the character, the people that write for the character, the people that create the character models and do the animations, to programming stuff for battle, to the people that do mocap and eventually voice the character. Everyone who helps bring that character to life is represented in this award, which is really cool, and there aren't very many awards that do that. So to have an award that really encompasses and represents everybody involved in that project, I think is super special. So just off the top of my head, people like Nomura, who helped design the characters and create them, Nojima, who helped write them, Katase, people like Teruki Endo, who implement all of the battle stuff, and all of the people that work with him to create a really great character like Yuffie in combat. And it's also a really great moment for Susie Young, who voices Yuffie. I've said this before, but everyone on the main voice cast of this series is phenomenal, and you could pick out any one of them and consider them to be an unsung hero. And in the past few months, we've seen some of the cast actually get recognized and win awards. Cody Christian and Brianna White both won awards for their performances. John Bentley has been longlisted for his portrayal of Barrett at the BAFTAs. Britt Baron recently won a performance award for voicing Tifa at the Grand Game Awards, and now Susie Young is being represented along with everyone who worked on this game at the DICE Awards. It's super cool. And taking into account everything that goes into a character like Yuffie, she is so well written. She's not just this bratty teenager who wants to yoink all your materia because she's obsessed with materia. There are so many layers to this character and to the performance by Susie Young. She does a really great job of portraying that young, kind of bratty, obnoxious teenager, but she also has those moments where you can tell that the weight of her entire nation is weighing down on her shoulders. The people that she's lost along the way on her journey have had massive effects on her. And to avoid spoiling anything in regards to the character and what happens in Part 3, there are deeper motives there for her being on the journey that she's on and wanting that materia. It's actually for a much greater purpose. But in terms of performance, for Susie Young to kind of bounce back and forth between those different tones and energies and do such a great job of the really fun, obnoxious stuff, but also the really sad, heartbreaking stuff. Seeing the different relationships that she has with the party members, you know, people like Barrett, who are almost kind of like a surrogate father to her because they butt heads so much, but eventually they end up getting along. Seeing the way she interacts with Red 13 and how he actually trusts her because both of them are technically the youngest characters in the party. Based on, you know, Nanaki's species, he seems older, but he's really just a kid, so they really connect with one another. He trusts her, and he likes her enough to let her pet him in a way that someone would want to pet a dog. So to see Susie Young represented in this nomination for her performance, along with everyone else, specifically the writing from Nojima, being able to add those layers that allow Susie to perform the way that she does. I don't know the name of the actress who does the motion capture, but she does a phenomenal job too of portraying this very plucky, spunky shinobi that is just so full of life. And I also think about the combat aspect. Teruki Endo and the battle team creating this really fun, dynamic character that is so incredibly broken. And if you put all the right material on her, she is a god in 7 Remake, Intergrade, as well as Rebirth. She is just a one-woman army that can mow down anybody in seconds flat. She's so much fun to utilize in combat because she has the ranged mechanics. She's got the ninjutsu with the elemental stuff and the shuriken. She can get up close. Some of her animations in particular with the synergy skills are really great. One of my favorite ones, I forget the name of it. It might be Hyclon Descent or something like that, but it's her and Cloud and they're doing all this crazy damage, and Yuffie summons all of these bombs that fall through a portal to land on the enemy, and the blast knocks her back. Cloud kneels down, catches her, and they both just kind of look at each other and then look at the explosion and kind of think, wow, we kind of overdid it. And I can't stress it enough, but the developers just put so much love and care into every single main character on this cast, from their performances to their writing to how they look and animate to all of the combat stuff. So an award like this I think is really cool and super unique, and I'm pulling for Square Enix in CS1 to win this. I think it would just be fantastic. But just to kind of take a look at some of the other nominations in this category, we have the character of Watcher from a game that I'm not familiar with, so I might butcher the title. It's 1000X Resist or 1000 Cross Resist. We also have Indiana Jones from the latest game, Indiana Jones in the Great Circle, who was voiced by Troy Baker, phenomenal actor. And then we have, I believe it's Indica from Indica. I have not heard of this one. And then we have Senua from Senua Saga Hellblade 2, which the people over at Ninja Theory do some straight up science magic when crafting their games and their characters. And that's another character that is so well written and animated and performed. So I don't know who's going to end up getting this, but to just see Square Enix with Yuffie and Rebirth nominated in this category, it's super cool. So let's go ahead and move over to that Final Fantasy VII New Year's event for Ever Crisis. This one is titled The Massive Mochi Mayhem. It's really cute. Not super serious, but it is a lot of fun. And I had a lot of fun watching this event and doing the recap. And again, massive thanks to FozFoz for playing through these events, which is not easy. You really got to grind your way through that game to access these events and then complete them. So the fact that they're taking their time to, again, play through these things and archive them online so we have them hopefully forever and we can revisit them whenever we want. So I'll leave a link in the description down below, not only to this New Year's event so you can watch it in full 4K and hear a lot of that great music, but also so you can subscribe to FozFoz's channel, especially if you're interested in Ever Crisis. They post almost every single event and they do it in a very timely fashion. So the story starts with our party venturing through Mount Nebel. They do split up, and only half of the party ends up going through a portal. That party includes Vincent, Tifa, Aerith, and Yuffie. As Vincent, Tifa, and Aerith kind of get their bearings, they hear someone scream. Sure enough, it is Yuffie, and she is being attacked by these massive guard scorpions that are all kind of designed in a very festive way that represents Wutai. Now this is a cool moment because Vincent gets to be a badass and he tells Yuffie, get down. He fires at one of the guard scorpions, completely disables it, and the party knows that they're about to fight all of these scorpions. Yuffie, however, decides to run away. So they defeat the scorpions. The party's like, what the hell, Yuffie, why'd you run away? But it turns out she just needed to check on the people of Wutai because there is currently a big Wutai festival happening involving the dessert mochi. And it turns out the culprit behind this entire thing is none other than Don Corneo, who showed up, stole all of the mochi, and then bounced. So now the party's goal is to find Corneo, get that mochi, and save the damn festival. So in this moment, Yuffie goes, Tifa, Aerith, I want you to change your clothes. We want to make things more festive. We need to cheer up the people of Wutai. So she changes their garb into some traditional New Year's Wutai garb, which is super beautiful. And then Yuffie asks Vincent, can you take out Corneo for me? And it's in this moment that Corneo actually shows up and tells the party, yeah, I'm the one with all the mochi. I took it. And at this moment, none other than Palmer shows up and he is pissed. So it turns out Palmer made a deal with Corneo that if you give me, Palmer, as much mochi as you can, because Palmer is someone who loves desserts, can never get enough, he's not very disciplined. In return, he would give Corneo a bunch of Shinra weapons that were supposed to be marked for disposal. But it turns out that Corneo kind of screwed over Palmer because he didn't give Palmer the mochi that he thought he was gonna get. He was expecting a much better mochi. Corneo cheaped out on him. So now Palmer wants revenge, as well as the proper mochi. Now at this moment, the party is once again attacked by more of those festive guard scorpions, and in the battle, Palmer and Corneo both disappear. So Yuffie tells the group, you guys need to go after Corneo, I'm gonna go back and make sure everyone's okay. And at this moment, we cut to the forest area with Palmer and the Turks. So it turns out that the Turks are here because the weapons that Palmer had given to Corneo, they were marked for disposal, and the Turks were supposed to be responsible for doing that. But because the weapons went missing, they then had to track them down, leading them to Wutai and trying to find those weapons to destroy them. So the Turks are essentially on cleanup duty. Now in this moment, Vincent, Aerith, and Tifa are in the bushes overhearing the entire conversation, so they confront the Turks and say, hey, looks like we kind of have the same goal here, why don't we team up? The Turks agree, and then we cut to Corneo, who is surrounded by a cache of who knows what. It could be the mochi, could be some weapons as well. And it turns out his whole motive was if he shows up at this festival, takes all the mochi, and then redistributes it to the people, he will then have women fawning over him. And they will worship him because it's like, oh, look at this really handsome man giving us mochi for this festival. So he did it because he was a horn dog. And he thought, well, maybe I'll get some women if I do this. So in true Corneo fashion, he's thinking with the wrong head. So at this moment, our party, as well as the Turks, find Corneo and confront him, and in true Corneo fashion, he starts peeing his pants a little bit, and Tifa and Aerith threaten him with the famous smash him, rip him lines, which is super great. Vincent even gets involved, but he's way more direct of like, I'm just gonna kill you, dude. Give us back the mochi. And as an homage to the original game as well as 7 Remake, Corneo does what he normally does and gives the group a question. And I think no matter what question you pick, you're wrong and you get attacked either way. So the party is attacked by more weapons, and it turns out these are the weapons that the Turks are looking for. So they've been destroying them one by one without even knowing it. So if they can take out this next group, all of the weapons marked for disposal will be taken care of, the Turks will be done, and they can go back home. So they manage to dispose of these weapons. The festival is back on. Yuffie finds Tifa and Aerith, and she expects Vincent to be there because she has mochi saved specifically for him. She wants him to try this mochi, and he just dips. He's gone. So the girls take off to try and find Vincent. We then cut to Palmer with the Turks, and in this scene, Palmer presents the Turks with his buttery,
baked on buttery, flaky crust,
sugary Palmer version of mochi. They all eat it, and they all end up on the floor with stomach cramps. Because again, Palmer is a glutton for dessert. He loves his butter, he loves his sugar, and the Turks cannot handle that, so they double over in pain. We then jump back over to our party where they find Vincent in the forest. And all Yuffie wants right now is for Vincent to join them at the festival, to have some fun, to eat some mochi, and she keeps referring to herself in this event when she's talking to Vincent as your favorite cute ninja girl. So she's got a really playful kind of vibe when it comes to Vincent. And Vincent is, of course, like the boomer of the group. He takes everything very seriously. I don't think he really understands humor and sarcasm. He's a very dead serious, dramatic individual. Now, Vincent's whole thing is, I don't want to go to the festival because I don't want to ruin the mood. Because again, Vincent being very self-serious, and he still feels like he has so many sins to atone for that I can't celebrate. What are you crazy? I've done so many things. I need to atone for these things before I can actually have pleasure and enjoy myself. And he says, you guys go back, I'll just ruin the mood. To which Yuffie responds with, yeah, probably. She then gets scolded by Tifa and Aerith, like, come on now. So Vincent actually takes off here, and in protest, Yuffie's like, fine, I'll eat the mochi that I saved for you. And she starts chowing down on the mochi, and she eats too fast and she ends up choking. And Tifa and Aerith are like, we don't know what to do, she's choking. So Vincent shows back up, takes a massive ball of mochi, throws it at Yuffie, knocks her down while also dislodging the mochi she was choking on. So he ends up saving her life. So she pops back up, she's grateful, and he says, here's the mochi that we recovered. It's a whole big bag of mochi. And in this moment, Vincent realizes, hey, Yuffie almost choked on this stuff. And he has a line that I wrote down verbatim because I thought it was really funny, and it suits the character of Vincent. And he says, maybe I can do my best Vincent impression here. He goes, "Mochi, the food of the shinobi that leaves one's life to chance, a perfect way to atone for my sins." And he's holding his head and looking down as he's saying this. Again, being overly dramatic, because that's who Vincent is. He's a very serious character. He needs to atone for those sins. So he figures, hey, I could probably choke on this stuff or maybe die. I deserve that, right? He's basically punishing himself. And in this moment, when he's having his own moment, the girls think, oh, he just wanted the mochi for himself. That's why he left. He wanted to eat the mochi in peace, not realizing that he thinks that he can atone for his sins by choking on mochi. It's really cute. So they're like, sure, you can have the mochi, just try it. So they go back to the festival, everyone's having fun, and that is the end of the event. It's really silly and goofy, not very consequential to the overall story, but seeing the interactions that Vincent gets to have with these characters is really awesome. He gets to be a badass that saves Yuffie, that gets to team up with Tifa and Aerith to go after Corneo. But seeing the interactions between Vincent, who is this really deadly serious dramatic character, with someone like Yuffie, who is very fun and young and lighthearted and goofy and just wants to share her culture with him, it's really funny because she's just trying her best to get him to open up, like, just eat some mochi, dude. Like, have some fun, like, let your hair down, man, like, we're here to have fun. So it makes me very excited to see the dynamic not just between Vincent and Yuffie in part 3, because in the original FF7, Vincent and Yuffie were optional characters, so they didn't really have too many interactions with each other or the party. But now that they are mandatory characters involved in the remake trilogy story, it's super cool to see their dynamic with each other. But also, what's the dynamic going to be with Vincent and the rest of the party? We got a little bit of that in Rebirth between Cloud, Barrett, and Vincent. There's that really fun mission where they go into the Shinra Manor because someone says it's haunted, and Barrett's freaking out a little bit like, wait, haunted? Like, you don't think it's actually haunted, right? And then we have these like opposing ideologies between Barrett and Vincent when it comes to these monsters, and how Vincent is actually a little bit more understanding and empathetic of what these creatures have gone through because of Hojo, and Barrett's a little bit more like, yeah, they're monsters, we can just take them out and not really feel bad about it. So I'm excited to see them build upon that more in part 3, but also, what is Vincent gonna do when he sees not only Hojo, but Sephiroth? Like, he actually is gonna get interaction with Sephiroth now. What has he got to say now to the man that he could have ended on many occasions, but he could not pull the trigger? And to have a character like Vincent, who is kind of at times comic relief without meaning for him to be comic relief, because he's not super self-aware that he's so out of touch with technology and how people interact with one another. He's just kind of unintentionally funny, which I think makes the character more endearing. Now, we also do get a look at Wutai in this episode, and it does remind me a lot of the OG Wutai in OG FF7. Very colorful, bright, lots of use of the color red and yellow, green foliage everywhere. I think this is probably what it's gonna look like in part 3, and I'm really excited to see Wutai because the developers have really hyped it up. Not only is it integral to the story, but it's gonna be a really massive location. So to see the entire region of Wutai before we even get to the nation of Wutai itself is gonna be cool. But more interestingly, what summon is going to belong to the Wutai region? Because in the original, I believe the summon you got there was Leviathan. We already have Leviathan, unless they plan on introducing a different Leviathan, but I am curious to see what summon is going to represent the land and people of Wutai, and how do they integrate that into the lore of the world. So Wutai, I think overall is going to be really exciting. Probably going to be a lot of mini games there, side quests, cool monsters to fight. And then there's the culmination of Yuffie's story there with her family. So all in all, it was a really silly, goofy event, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoy these types of events. They just kind of take these great characters and put them in really silly situations that kind of allow them to not be so weighed down by like the main story of what's happening in FF7. So with that being said, that is the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on Yuffie and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth being nominated for Outstanding Achievement in Character? And what did you guys think of this massive mochi event from Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis? And what moment in particular are you looking forward to in Remake Part 3 involving Vincent? I am Curious Corduroy. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.